Hi there, this is Dani, and the channel is You and Me Living Free. I am in one of the most gorgeous places I've ever been to, so I wanted to do a video outside. Let's hope the wind cooperates, and let's hope I can keep this sunlight before the sun goes down, because there's a ledge over there and it goes down kind of quickly. So I wanted to give you a good view, but the sun's in my eyes, so pardon, I hope you forgive the sunglasses. Maybe if this goes on long enough, I can take them off and still see what I'm doing. Okay, without further ado, I just get started with the rabbit trails. Sometimes I don't even have to be talking for a long time and then get lost. I just start right off that way. Anyway, today what I'm going to talk about is I quit my job 6 months ago to travel for 1 year in my minivan. And we're 6 months in, we're halfway through, and actually we're a little more than halfway through. We hit the halfway point. April 4th was my last day on my job, so I consider that my day. So then April 4th of 2022 will be the last day of my 12 months. I try not to get sad, boo-hoo. So we're a little over 6 months in. It's about mid-October right now, maybe a little later. And so 6 months in, so it's important, you know, this was a life-changing decision that I made. I'm convinced that it will affect and is affecting my life, my kids' lives. It'll be something that changes our lives forever, me just doing this. And for a lot of reasons, but I don't want to get sidetracked on that either. What I want to talk about is when I had many jobs and careers over the course of my life, but one of them I worked for a meeting and event planning company, and they would do a pre-con and a post-con. So you have a big convention, right? So the pre-con is when you go through everything step by step, you make sure everything's in order, right? You do it again on site with the client, with the hotel, with the event venues and things, all in a room, all around a table ideally, and you walk through every element and you make sure everybody's on the same page. Equally as important, although I don't think a lot of businesses or people do this, is a post-con. And that means after the event takes place, you go back and you say what went right, what went wrong, how did we fix it, how did we deal with it, how can we fix it in the future, keep it from happening in the future. And so you move forward like that, right? I think it's a great way to do that. I haven't worked for that event planning company for 20 years, but that is one thing that stuck with me. Then I was reading David Goggins' book, You Can't Hurt Me, and he does one of the same things. He calls it an AAR. It's from the military. It's an after action report where you go through and you do the same thing. Only one of the things that he started with was he says that whenever you're doing something out of your comfort zone, for him it might be running 100 miles. For me, it might be a trip or something. A little difference, but whatever. Love you, David Goggins. He says that at some point when things get hard, you're going to say, why was I doing this again? Like, why am I even here? Why did I even want to do this? And you want to make sure you have your answer first. Okay, that's the first thing you need to do, is make sure you know your why. The wind is picking up a little bit. I just wanted to make sure that you can still hear me and that the sound quality is okay. One of these days I will get a microphone that has the fuzzies on it so it will deter the wind noise. I really want to do this video outside, but the weather does not always cooperate. It's been beautiful here. The temperature is great, but you know, it's very open, and so of course there's a lot of breeze, which is most of the time nice unless you're trying to record a video. So my why. In a word, if I had to say my why, it would be freedom. Freedom is the biggest and was the biggest, most compelling why for me. And I shared part of this in the video where I talk about deciding to do this and why it was a good idea. And, you know, being 52, my dad had a heart attack at 52. His mother had passed at 52 from a heart attack, right? So all of these things, a million things came together to bring me to this point. And so my why is freedom. And so for a lot of my life, I've just felt like I've kind of been in a survival mode, in a mode where there were a lot of have-tos in my life. Now, some have-tos are are great anyway. It's like I have to take care of my kids, right? Of course. I have to put my kids ahead of me, right? Of course. I want to do those things. They're also have-tos, but it's different when you want to. But the have-tos that really got to me more were like, I have to work this job even though I don't love it anymore. I have to pay rent. I have to. There were a lot of those, right? So I wanted freedom. And that is the biggest thing. I have notes in my little journal because this is a big deal to me. And I did a lot of thinking about this video, and I did a lot of thinking about 6 months and what I wanted to say and how I was feeling about my journey so far, because I think it's very important. I wanted to do more want to and less have to. I wanted to, the cliche thing, you know, follow my bliss. I wanted to see if actually, if I was out of survival mode and out of the mode, if I gave myself a year and budgeted for it and everything and didn't have to really worry overtly about the money, because so much of my life has been worry about money. If I could take that off the table, I wanted to see who I could be. I wanted to see how I am without that hanging over my head. I wanted to see what other opportunities open themselves up. What was I overlooking because I was so kind of stuck in have-tos and stuff. So really wanted to try to follow my bliss. Another thing I've already kind of touched on is that we know tomorrow is never promised. Anything can happen at any point, and I bet we have all had people in our lives who were taken from us suddenly, who had a life-changing diagnosis, who had life-changing news, and they had this dream that they wanted to do, and then they were no longer able to do it because things happen. And so all kinds of things happen. Tomorrow is never promised. That's another reason my why is to have this time. Also, you know, my kids are now 19 and 23. They're still both living at home. They're in college. And, you know, I'm getting ready to be at a point in my life where I'm an empty nester. I'm not yet, but I can see that, right? It's coming very, very soon. And so the question is, what do I want for the rest of my life? What do I want to do? What are my priorities? What is my life going to look like? What intentions am I setting about what I want for my life? And so this time, this 12 months was a time to explore. Again, without the survival mode kicking in, because your answers are different if you think, well, I have to make rent and I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. If I could take all that away and really just follow bliss and really just follow intuition and be in the moment with life and see what life has to bring me, then and setting an intention always for that bliss, for that freedom, for the best thing in life, for my highest contribution, for knowing myself and growing. So another thing was just growth and expansion. I wanted to grow as a person. And again, without that survival mode, growth as a person is so much easier. Because in survival mode, there are so many blocks, so many things that take time, take space in your mind. You know how that inner critic, that voice is always talking to you in your mind, right? It's so much louder, more pronounced when you're in the routines of doing your life. When you are getting up every day, working, you're seeing the same people, you're checking the same social media, you're doing all these things that are the same. What you're basically doing is just putting out whatever you have in your life right now, you're projecting it into your future because that's where your energy is constantly going. This is a break from that. This whole 12 months is a break from that, constantly just throwing more of the same out into my future and really starting with that clean slate, really believing anything is possible and seeing what do I really want and how do I get my needs, how do I meet my needs for myself and make a contribution at the same time? How do I manage all this? So I'm going to check my notes and then we'll come back with the next section. Okay, the next question in our review is what went well? So far, the first 6 months, what has gone well? Well, I can tell you the main thing that has gone well is, and I'm going to try to do this without crying. Who cares if I cry, right? You guys know I'm crybaby. This has been the happiest, most fulfilling, rewarding, peaceful, deep peace, peaceful time in my whole life this 6 months has been. And we'll talk about the challenges in a minute. It hasn't been perfect, but it has been the best 6 months of my whole life. And it is really remarkable, really remarkable. Just as far as the freedom aspect of it and the idea that there is opportunity, that there are more dreams to be had and more dreams that can come true, right? That seeing this dream to fruition has given me the confidence to think that my dreams are worthwhile. I remember a time back when I was, married a very long time ago, and just throughout most of my life, I realized that there was a point in my life where I was like, I didn't even have a dream. I didn't have a single dream because I was convinced that it didn't matter anyway. It wasn't going to happen anyway. So why even dream? Why set myself up for failure? So, and it wasn't even a conscious thought a lot of the time. It was just there in the background. And I came to the point where I realized I didn't even have a dream for my life. I didn't even have a desire, an intention, a dream, a direction, none of that for my life. And that was a pretty big wake-up call. That's pretty big right there. So what went well? The 6 months has been amazing. What went well is the minivan. I think I'm going to do a whole video on the pros and cons of minivan camper travel versus some of the other kinds. But for me, in my situation, this van cost very little, and it's known for its endurance and time on the road, so it should be good for me for this whole year and beyond. And so it was very cost effective. The build on the inside, I built my bed and that's it. The rest are crates and standalone little pieces. There's almost nothing to it. And so that simplicity, the cheap, the very low cost of it has served me so well for so many reasons. So the van was a wonderful decision. I could have taken more of my budget out on the vehicle, but then I would have had less money to travel. Then I would have had less money to think, oh, I want to spend this much money and do a tour on this, or I want to do a hotel room because it's 100 degrees. I wouldn't have been able to do some of those things if I hadn't gone really tight with the budget on the van and everything. So that has worked out beautifully. It's been really good following my intuition and being free, but even before the freedom comes the research and the planning. And so I've never been a big researcher or planner. And so this has been a balancing and a give and a take between planning things and researching and then throwing it all up and saying, okay, there's a fire, or it's too hot, or there's another situation that everything has to change. And that's fine. When you do your research and your planning, you're more able to be spontaneous and free in the moment and have options. So that has worked really well. I am more intentional about life. I'm more aware of my inner life because I am convinced that our inner life is what creates our happiness, our everything. It's our inner life. It's how we look at things. It's knowing ourselves, setting intentions, that inner work that we do that helps us create the life, the external life that we want, and also helps us deal with things in the best way, also gives us a really strong and positive perspective for growth and for moving forward, right? So what else? I have been totally asking myself in so many moments, what would bring me joy right now? What would bring me joy right now? And then doing that. And I can't imagine a bigger privilege in life than to go from moment to moment and say, okay, what would bring me joy now? And sometimes it's an orange, and sometimes it's meditation, sometimes it's a candy bar, sometimes it's a walk. Sometimes it's editing a YouTube video or making a YouTube video. All kinds of things bring me joy. And so being in the moment and asking, what would bring me joy right now? What would bring me comfort? A lot of times I'm finding it's self-care. It's a bath, or it's lotion, or moisturizer on my face, or a lot of times it's self-care that comes up, like what would bring me joy? What would bring me comfort? Okay, now let's get to the juicy part. I'm going to check my notes and come right back with what went wrong. Okay, what life is not all rainbows and unicorns, even if you quit your job to travel for a year, right? Things are going to go wrong. Shit is going to happen. And what makes a happy, strong individual is knowing that when shit happens, I can deal with it, right? What makes people happy and strong is not never having a problem. It's knowing when a problem comes up, I can solve it. I can do what I need to do. As I look back at what went wrong, a lot of times I can see again and again. And again, I have grown up and stayed in survival mode so much of my life that this is a theme that comes up. But I'm telling you what, money can solve so many problems. And you know, there are those studies that say only money up to a certain point can solve your problems. Then you're pretty much just even with everybody else. But I have never made enough money to be at that point where money solved my problems. Well, I have when I was married, but that's a long story. We made it together. We made that much money, but we spent even more than we made. We were terrible, terrible. But anyway, that's a story for a different day. Since my divorce, I have never made that threshold, and some people call it $70 or $80 or $100,000, where you have your home, you have your needs met, you can take a vacation, you're saving for retirement, like you feel like life, life is good. Things come up, I can handle it. You're financially prepared, those things. Money solves a lot of problems. So a lot of these solutions for what went wrong were solved by money. Okay, so the first thing that went wrong occasionally was the heat and the fires. And I've talked about these things quite a bit, so I won't belabor the point. But when it's 100 degrees across, when you're clear up north, in Montana and Idaho and Oregon and Washington, and it's still 100 degrees, like there's a certain amount of challenge to that when you're in a van, because there's just no way of being comfortable without air conditioning. And I haven't figured, I don't have air conditioning in the van, and don't know how that would be possible. It doesn't matter. It would be too expensive or to take up too much space, whatever. So I would get a hotel room, and I would make other plans. Again, that was where my planning came in handy. So I would kind of tentatively have a plan B. I would know if I couldn't go one place I wanted, I would know the next place I was going after that, so I would head there. So just a variety of things. Plan and then be flexible, and money can solve so many of those problems. Traveling back and forth to Kansas City. So if you think about taking a year off to travel, I'm like, I can see this whole country in a year, right? Wrong. I mean, maybe I could if I was just like going every single day or whatever. And I do travel a lot. I do have a lot of drive days. I go from destination to destination, but not enough time to see the whole country. And part of that is because I do still have that life back in Kansas City. My kids are still at home. There are things I need to do when I am home. I miss them. They miss me. There's a lot of reasons why I go back and forth. But the back and forth to Kansas City means everything is always starting at Kansas City, going out, and then coming back to Kansas City. So it's a lot of extra driving. It's a lot of extra money on gas. And I didn't quite figure that into the equation when I was starting out. So that brings us to, then I had minor issues with things like prescriptions on the road that I didn't all figure out ahead of time. And I was having some issues with with a couple of my teeth, having some dental work and having to schedule that. And so those were some minor challenges, not anything big. So with those challenges came the extra budget, right? So I am over budget on my trip. So now the next section, those are the challenges. How did we fix these challenges, and what are we going to do to prevent them from happening? I've already sort of covered that, but let me look at my notes and then I will kind of finish that up and bring it together. So one of the things that helped when I started this whole adventure is that I'm not on vacation, I'm having an adventure. And I think that's an important distinction just mentally to kind of make, because when I'm on a vacation, typically before this, if I would take a vacation, it would be to go lie on a beach and do nothing and be taken care of, basically, right? So because I was so overworked in my life, so kind of trapped, so kind of on the treadmill, that all I needed, I needed a break every time I got a vacation, which is what, a couple of weeks a year. Like, that's enough for anybody. It's not enough. It's not enough for any of us to have a couple of weeks off a year. But no wonder all I wanted to do was go into a coma when it was my 2 weeks, right? So, what was my point with that? My point, my point is that on an adventure, you expect challenges, you're ready to deal with them. On a vacation, you're like, these challenges better be taken care of by someone else, preferably, the airline or the hotel or the whatever, right? So that was my point, was that I had the idea, the mindset of going on an adventure. So there's going to be challenges. You're going to have to deal with them. So you just know that going in, it just helps you so much. It's like, no, this isn't supposed to be perfect. This is supposed to be free, but you're free to mess up. You're free to learn lessons. You're free to grow. You're free to do all kinds of things. So how have I helped fixed it is the more and more I listen to intuition, the more and more I take time to breathe and ask myself what would bring joy now, what should I do next, just taking those moments, meditation, things like that, to slow down. And so that's another big solution that I'm putting forward now for the next 6 months is I'll be slowing down. I'll be slowing down. The last trip I took was a whirlwind. It was 7 weeks, and I did Rocky Mountain National Park. I did, anyway, I don't need to go through all of it. I did like 7 or 8 states. I was clear up in Washington and stuff, and it was amazing. But I was so over budget on that trip. So slowing down. Staying at destinations for more time, because what's really expensive is the travel days. Travel days, it's gas, it's eating out more often, it's, oh, I'm so exhausted, I'll stay in a hotel instead of searching for BLM land or something. So it's a lot of different things. But if I slow down, if I'm only doing a few hours of driving or up to maybe 4 or 5 hours of driving instead of 7 or 8, then I can have more options. Then if a BLM place is closed and I didn't expect it, I can drive an hour to the next one. I don't have to get a hotel. Or I can keep from getting run down to the place where I feel like, oh, a night in a hotel would just be so nice because I'm run ragged and I just need a little self-care and pampering, and I need a hotel to do that. I think in my first 6 months, there was a lot more of that. In my second 6 months, I'm more acclimated and I'm more able to go without that stuff and not need it as much and take care of myself while I'm traveling and while I'm on the road better. So a big way to do that is to slow down. I'll use less in gas. I'll use less in hotels. I'll use less in eating out, just by slowing the pace a little bit and finding locations like this. And by the way, this is a free camp spot, and I'll put the GPS, the coordinates at the end of the video in case you're interested. This is the best free camp spot I've ever had. When I think about it though, of all the beautiful campsites I've ever had, they have all been free. You go to the campgrounds sometimes for company and for security, or for their amenities, their services that you need. You need to do laundry, you need to take a shower, that kind of thing. But you don't go to the campground for its beauty. You come to nature, BLM land, Bureau of Land Management, Forestry Department, Fish and Wildlife, those kinds of things. These are where you get the real beauty. But I don't even know for sure if I'm in northern Arizona or southern Utah. I think I'm in southern Utah, but I'll put the coordinates at the end. Anyway, not to get sidetracked. Goodness gracious, Dani. Okay, how do we fix it? We're slowing down. It's going to solve all my problems. It's going to make all of those things come together. And, just to wrap things up, this has been an amazing time for me, and but not without its challenges. But I am so, so, so grateful. But every time I sit down to do this video or to write this list about what I'm feeling and everything, part of what creeps in is it's 6 months over already. Again, it's kind of the scarcity thinking. It's kind of that survival mode thinking that like, it's half over, it's half gone, I'll never get it back, and I only have 6 months left. It's crazy how that works, but basically what it is a lack mindset, right? It comes from a place of having stories about your life that there's never enough. There's never enough money. There's never enough time. There's never enough whatever. And I just so am ready to let that go and just to do this and to be in the moment and to be appreciating. You know, when I was even looking at my whys, I didn't even have as a why that I really wanted to be in nature that much. I really wanted to see this country of ours. If I'm completely honest, that wasn't my original goal. It has been like the biggest gift to find that, you know, because I was never a big camper. I was never a big outdoorsy person. It has been one of the biggest joys to find out how much I truly love being in nature, how much I love seeing places like this and being here and being present and enjoying all that nature has to give. It blows my mind on a regular basis. And so just feeling so fortunate. I've never felt so grateful, never felt so blessed to actually be able to do this. And I'm so grateful. And, you know, I think that's all I've got to say about this. You made it to the end of another video. Thank you so much. And I don't know if you can feel it, but I am sending you so much love right now. I'm just going to take a second. I am sending it. I'm telling you, I am sending that love right to you, right to your heart. I hope that your dreams can come true. I hope that you believe that they can and that you are taking little bitty steps toward it every day, because that just makes life worth living. And I hope you're happy, and I'm sending you love. Thank you so much for watching. Feeling very grateful for that, to have you here. So thank you so much. I'll catch you next time. Okay, I almost forgot. So because I was kind of struggling and part of me was sad about having this 6-month milestone, I decided that I would buy this mini bottle of Prosecco or champagne or whatever, sparkling wine, to have it, to really, really, really make sure that I remember that it is a celebration. Even with that lack mindset of, oh no, 6 months is gone. There's still another 6 months, and just the privilege to be able to do this in the first place. It's a celebration. So I'm gonna have some champagne. Let me see if I can get this open. I've been carrying this around for 10 days in my cooler. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's a twist. I thought I was gonna pop a cork. It's a twist. Let me pull up my shirt and get a grip on the handle. Ugh. Oh, okay. Yay. Well, that wasn't much of a fizz. Let's see how it tastes. I'm just gonna drink it out of the bottle because all I have is, you know, plastic cups. So I'm pretty sure it'll taste better out of this bottle than those. All right. Ah, it's yummy. Sparkling wine always makes me, Prosecco, champagne, always makes me feel like a party. You know, it can be a Wednesday night or whatever. I don't even know what day it is right now. Oh, today's Saturday. It's a Saturday night officially, like 5 o'clock, but still, it's a Saturday night, and there's a little party going on. Just happy to have 6 months. Oh, and I'll also add the coordinates for this campsite. I won't forget. I'll put it at the end of the video. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye.